like there's a light on there.
Yeah.
The light is turned on.
Okay, maybe. I think it's working now.
Oh, okay. So, there's, the next thing we were going to do is ask if there was any items that council wanted to debate and talk about, identify which ones we wanted to talk about. Go ahead, Councillor Martins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, so item number 8.1. I also had a couple of comments for fire chief cover.
Okay.
Nothing difficult, don't look at me like that. And item 9.1, and that's it, because I think all the reports will be talked about.
Yeah, our reports.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, other people, what, Councillor Benagra?
6.1
Okay,
and 14.2 and 14.3.
okay. The other one I just had, it was just comments and questions for Public Works, which was 4.1. And just for confirmation, the CAO's report and action list is always discussed, or is that one that we have to identify?
Your Worship, we have been identifying it.
Okay,
And
so I'll identify 13.1 as one I wanted to ask about. So that leaves out the ones that we will not be talking about then is our peace officer's report, and I can see that he's shaken by that. The minutes, which is 5.1, and 14.1 and 14.4. So we're recommending that those ones get approved. All in favor? Councillor Stenhouse, you seem to be frozen up again. Are you in favor of that?
Oh, there's her hand.
Okay.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay, so you were froze up for a while there. All right, so let's move on then to delegations. No scheduled delegation, but do we have a public delegation here, Chris? No? Okay. Then we'll move on to the fire chief's report. And I guess I'll turn it over to, well, I guess usually we get you to give a summary, but it's everything's kind of good. So we'll get you to do your summary and then we'll ask questions.
Basically, I'm going to submit my report for review to council, and if you have questions, fire away.
All right, and I know Councillor Martin says.
Good to see you. So first of all, great job. Love the fire prevention initiatives. My quick comments were when I was reading this. The second bullet under activities where you guys have to do your training. By when is that completed? Is there a timeline? Like, is it March? Is it?
Training is year round. So what we do is we work on a training schedule for the entire year, and that was developed in December. And what it basically does is it hits all of the training points that we need to hit to cover our levels of service. And as I said, we kind of distribute it out throughout the year.
And then I was just wondering about the key highlights with respect to the revisions for 2022? Anything notable that you want to point out?
I'm sorry, what?
Any key highlights for the revisions and updates to the 2022 guide? Because I know it's been changed, right? Or
The operating guidelines.
Oh,
that
the
were
operating
changed.
guidelines? Sorry, yes. Actually, there was huge changes that what I did because originally what I did is I adopted the SOGs that previous fire chief had used, and I looked at it and I wanted to do some major changes. So yes, there are significant changes to the SOGs. I've used Slave Lake as kind of a guideline of what to follow and basically use some of their stuff. And I also referenced some other fire departments so that it's not just me reinventing the wheel. And it's a well over 300-page document, and it outlines all of the again guidelines that we kind of run off of for the fire department.
awesome. Well, that's awesome to see best practices and good leadership.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
That's good. That sounds like you've been busy.
Yeah, it was.
I was wondering about, you're trying to close outstanding files from previous inspections. Are people not complying with the asks?
No, I'm getting general compliance. I guess I want to change the word compliance to buy-in. The problem that some places are having is they're having to order stuff, and I don't know if you're in the business of ordering stuff, but stuff is so backlogged that for me to set a timeline of a month, and people are like places they're having to order doors, metal doors, fire doors, and to get those in a month is just about an impossibility. So those are the kinds of things that I'm following up on and trying to get close the files. So.
Okay, well that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Anything else for fire chief? Alright, okay, can we get a motion on his report? You made the motion, didn't you? Yes, Sasha made the motion.
I move that council receive the fire chief's January 2022 report for information.
Okay, all in favor? Carried, good, gotcha. Alright, and then moving on to our public works report. I'll make the motion that council receive the January 2022 public report for information. And I'll turn it over to Vern for any highlights he wants to bring out or any changes.
Not really any highlights, it's just regular maintenance, is what's proceeding and everything that we typically do in the month of January. As we start to fill out our 2021 reporting to various environmental departments.
Okay. Any questions for Vern? Councillor Daneka?
No questions, just a comment to you and your people there. Great job on doing the roads with the umpteen amounts of snow we've had in the last few days and now rain. I just want to commend your people and yourself for doing such an excellent job keeping the roads movable and passable. Excellent.
I'll pass that on.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to echo that, is saying good job on the snow removal, so that was good. And they also for clearing the trails. I know that there's been some comments on that, which was good. Trails were cleared on those, which is fantastic. The one question I had is, again, I had some more comments on just how do we notify people when we're doing the snow removal, when we're going to be in their area so they can move their vehicles and make the snow removal easier.
What we have been doing is putting it on our Facebook page,
Okay.
and then I know there is a reference to, I think Mike has got a reference to the snow removal policy, in which areas will be done first.
Oh, okay. Well, again, I'm not, I haven't been looking for it, but, some people, a couple of times I've had people ask me about that, we're not knowing when, and they know it's impedes them, or they get their vehicle kinda snowed in, right? One of the two, and they, yeah. No, I think that was it, other than, I don't know if we've got that wonderful donation from Tulco, and I don't know if it's been talked about, we need to do those, maintenance on the trails. I don't know if Rod's talked to you about that, but if we're gonna do it by contract or internally, but that's something that we'll need to chat about at some point.
Yeah, we haven't had the opportunity to talk about that yet. In years past, we have done the upgrade internally, but, we're short staffed.
Yeah,
Something
it's
that we'll be discussing.
okay. All right, no other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you, Mark. All right, we've already done the minutes, so we're moving on to 6.1, delegations. Councillor Danaka, did you want to make a motion to start the discussion on this?
I make a motion that council debate and provide administration with direction.
Okay. Go ahead and start us off.
Regarding the utility rate increase, I'm not sure how many of you councillors, but I know for myself I received many calls on that. I think we need to do a better job of explaining our reasonings as to why the increase. When I explained to the ones that called me stating that the reason we did the utility rates, water, sewer, etc., was that we went to more of a user pay model, as those particular services were subsidized by the tax dollars, and they were somewhat surprised and very unaware that that was occurring. So I think we need to do a better job of getting the message out and explaining why those have been increased and why we're doing the increases. I think it may be time again for a mayor video explaining that. I don't know. I don't know if there's something that we can publish in the paper, full page ad explaining those reasonings again, because not everybody has access to internet, social media, able to access the town's website. I think in the future we need to be more proactive in getting our message out, explaining why we're doing things, so people don't question or saying, "Oh my God, why is this happening?" So they understand where we're at in terms of finances, etc., etc., etc. Because I think the more information we get out to the people so they understand the workings, makes it easier for them to understand the decisions we make.
All right, thank you. I totally agree with you. I mean, communication is key, and that's something that we haven't done as great as we can with, yeah, I know we did do something, Rod put together the letter for the changes to tax rates, and was going to put that in as a newsletter, so everybody gets it, you know, that explanation of why. We did not do that for the utility rates, but we could do something like that too, and fine with doing another, you know, a video gets to people, and that's a better way of getting people. I'm fine with that too, to get the message out there. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I agree, but it has to be done in a way that, you know, people understand, like a breakdown of, this is what you paid before. Here's the reason for the cost increase. Where does that come from? Why is there that increase? And yeah, so that they're not sitting there going, well, you guys just voted to increase it. It's not that. There's a reason for it, and we need to show that. So that's the big thing out of that is make
Yep.
sure they understand where it's coming from.
I agree as well, and very factual, very open and very
Yeah.
factual. Not just saying why, but showing why, and yeah, just very clear that everybody can understand. I agree very much so. It's and proactive with it for sure. That they see that before, they see it coming, they see what's happening there. Most importantly, why. Yeah, I think that's the communication is huge that way, absolutely, and helps to explain a little bit better rather than people looking for the answers, I guess. But yes, I agree.
What would you see as the best way to communicate that message out there?
If I may, so do you guys remember infographics? They're still a thing, you know, they're so clear, they're visual, they have numbers. I did one for some other group, I can share it with you, but it's at a glance, it's easy to grasp. Does anyone know, have you guys seen infographics?
I'm not sure, it's just a graph with information?
No.
Or just, okay.
It's an information sheet, but it looks like that's why infographic, it's a graphic and it's visually. Let me see if I can pull one up, but let's continue and then I can pass around an example. But they're cool, you know, they're cool and they might have 3 circles like gas, water, sewer, percentage increase, you know, a red arrow in the one that we're losing on, for example, the water utility. And a very brief, they're not wordy, because people just don't want, you know, the paragraph Rod, I love the explanation that works for us, but at a glance, it isn't great. So when you ask the question of how to communicate, I'm going to pull up, if I can, an example of what I did, but, and then I can show
And
you
how
guys.
would we share that information, you think, yeah?
That's a good, so
With
back to
all
someone's
of the
idea
things.
of, someone said, Councillor Bianca, it might have been you, an ad in the newspaper, because not everyone has, you know, so both, I think all of the above, put it everywhere. You know, let it be available everywhere. Let's put a plaque out in the front foyer and, you know, this matters to people. Again, like yourself, I've gotten a ton, I was admiring the mural at the post office and there's questions. So it's not the first, it won't be the last.
No.
And I think we get in front of it and we address it.
Yeah.
I really like that idea about visual. I think that's really key because, yes, you know, I know myself. I'm a very visual person, so yeah, I think graphics and visual is really big. I mean, there could be a lot of words going on, but you know, if you can show it in such a way by looking at it, yeah, I think that's really key. That's a great idea.
Councillor Stenhouse?
Because I can't hear everyone, I hope I'm not repeating this, but I think it'd be worth our while to print up flyers like we did for the broadband camp and every mail. I would like to see numbers. Like Rod.
Yeah.
Rod did a really good
yeah,
job
okay,
of
perfect.
explaining it in our minutes and on the website, but I'd like to just
Most of it, yes. You broke up a little bit, but I think everybody got the gist of what you were saying, yes. And again, like I know, talking with Rod, the plan was is to put that information in the monthly newsletter, so everybody that is, you know, that lives in town will get it. So that's one way to share that kind of information. Okay, So we've had, I know the motion was for having some discussion and provide administration with direction. Maybe we need to do a friendly amendment to say we want to build something. You're talking specifically about the utilities.
That is correct.
Okay.
So we've had our friendly discussion, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So would you like to change a motion and say that we do?
I make a motion that council request administration to draft what's the word? Draft an explanation of the reasoning for the increases in the water, sewer, in regards to why the rates are increasing, the deficits in those departments.
Well, let's just leave it at that.
Okay.
It's too much of a.
Okay.
I think he got the gist.
You got the gist of that? Okay, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Any discussion, other discussion before we vote?
Don, Councillor Danaka, would you be comfortable if we use the terminology that Sasha used in describing how it's laid out?
No, that's fine. If you want to make it to an infographic
Yeah, we can come
presentation or whatever you find that will be the best to communicate our message.
Yeah, using infographics.
Okay. All in favor?
Your hand's covered, her hand.
No, well, I can see her here, yeah.
Yeah. You can, but we can't.
Okay, that's carried. All right, moving on then to item 8.1. Can I get a motion on this one? Oh, Councillor Danaka.
I make a motion that council approve the quality management plan, Town of High Prairie Gas Utility, and direct administration to submit the approved plan to the province.
Okay, thank you. I forget, was Councillor Martin, did you identify this one? I'll let you start off with your question, comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. So really, I understand, Rod, that this is annual, and I understand that it's mandated. My question is it similar to the asset management kind of plan, and is there a cost associated? Because I didn't see either one of those two.
Maybe I'll let our Public Works Manager respond to this. Yes, there's no correlation.
This is a quality management plan on how we operate the system. It basically tells us in those acts and guidelines on what we have to do to operate the system so that the province will continue to give us a license to operate. We do go above and beyond some of the things that are in there as mandated, like our cathodic protection and our leak detection survey. We do those annually. We're not required to, but with the age of our system, we do go above and beyond in that.
So just, sorry, go ahead, finish up.
So is there a cost? Just time, or?
We do have a cost because we do hire a third-party consultant to come in and do those detection surveys. But other than the rest of the quality management is just things that we do have to do.
No, yeah, do you know what the cost for the contractor is?
It's about $11,000 annually.
Go ahead, Councillor Dunn.
Just a question around the ERPs. How often are they updated?
We do a tabletop exercise once a year and sometimes twice. The emergency response plan will be changed with a call out with the new board members or the council members that are on council. So it's done annually. We have a look at it.
And just for council's peace of mind and everybody that, everything that's identified in these plans, we do cover, is that correct? Like we are meeting all of our expectations that are listed here?
Yes, the Federation comes in and they audit us every 3 years. And we're due for another audit in 2023.
Okay. And I know we've done this before, but everybody should know that we are meeting the standards as identified, so that was good. Okay, anything else on this one? Seeing none, we had a motion to sign, I forget the wording, but to sign this, to approve, yeah, to the plan. Yeah, and I know that we need that, otherwise I won't sign it, it needs the signature, so. All right, all in favor? Okay, gotcha, all, that is carried. Moving on then to item 9.1. Somebody want to make a motion on this one? Councillor Danaka?
I make a motion that council give first reading to bylaw 02-2022, line of credit loan guarantee for the Hyper 8 and District Golf Club this 8th day of February 2022.
All right, I'm not sure who had a question or comment on this one.
No, I just think I circled it for discussion for the new councillors.
Okay. So perhaps I can give a little bit of background from no one before in this.
Go ahead.
And then if we have other questions, I can see our CFO is ready by the mic, just in case. But the bottom line, I know we've been signing this for all of the time I've been on council, and it's a guarantee just in case the golf club has to pull out or take out a loan to get started each year. They wanted to know if they needed some money to get started, to open the doors, to do some maintenance that they might need, that they had a guarantee there that they could get started. And we've been signing this, we've never had an issue with it. They either have never used it, and if they have used it, they paid it off right away as soon as they got some income coming in during the year. So it's been a good arrangement at this point in time. We've never had an issue with it. And it just gives them some flexibility to get started. Did I capture that correctly? Pretty good, okay, yeah. All right, any questions on that one?
Judy?
Oh, Councillor Stenhouse.
Okay, so they want a line of credit of 60,000, but yet they have a surplus of 110. Why do they need us to sign off on a line of credit for 60,000 when they're almost double in the bank account already?
I'm not, I see our CFO is ready to answer that for you.
They have funds to do capital projects that they intend to do in the spring prior to opening, and so those, not all of it will be used, but some of it, and then they'll need start seed money, so that's the reason. Okay?
Were you able to hear that? Councillor?
No, not at all. I never caught any.
Oh, okay. Basically what she said is they have got plans that they're going to start on some capital projects early in the spring, that will use up any proceeds that they had or the bulk of those proceeds. So they still wanted to have a little bit of money to get operating if they needed it. Any other questions on it? Oh.
When you say capital projects, we own. Do I have the floor?
Yes, yep, go ahead.
Okay, so when you say capital projects, when a furnace breaks down, we replace it. When their stove breaks down, we replace it. So what kind of capital projects are they talking about?
I think one of the capital
When
projects,
we do the maintenance
the capital project that I believe they're looking at is an irrigation system for all of their greens and for some of the fairways. So it's a lot of the water lines and sprinkler systems for that.
There is also the septic system that wasn't completely finished last year, and there was something in the clubhouse that is scheduled to be done also.
Oh, okay. And there is a couple of other ones, Judy, both, there's something in the clubhouse, wasn't sure, but also the septic system needed to be upgraded. And just for clarification, the town does not usually do any upgrades to that facility, even though we own the property. The golf club has been doing most of those improvements on their own, and they have come to us in the past when they asked for that $15,000 to do some of the capital upgrades. But other than that, they've been looking after it themselves. Okay, anything else? Seeing none, we had a motion to approve the line of credit. All in favor? Judy, yay or nay on the approval?
Yes, in favor.
Okay,
Yay.
thank you. You're frozen up at this end, so thank you for that. And, okay, so moving on then to item 13.1, the CAO's report and action list. Get a motion for this one? Councillor Dunn?
That council received CAO Rod Reiserling's report and action list for information.
Okay, thank you. And Rod, is there anything you wanted to add to your report before we open it up?
No, I think this staff, I think we talked a little bit about the public works folks and the most unusual winter ever, and also the interiors office staff with pretty short numbered and mailing of dog licenses and business licenses. It's they've been doing a great job. So all around, I think it's been a challenge, but they've been delivering and. Yeah, I think just some kudos to them.
All right, thank you. Councillor Danaka.
Just a couple things. Is our office still locked?
Yes, we encourage people to use other means if at all possible. So we're trying to, again, limit that contact. We're still under the legislation of working from home, and so wherever we possibly can, we do that. But if people can't pay their bills or do their business, we open the door for them.
Okay. And my other question is regarding your budget preparations. It's been, when did we have that? September, October, when we did our strategic plan with Mr. McIntosh. I think before we do the final budget, I think we need to have a strategic plan meeting to see how that fits in with our budget plans. So I would like to set something up before our final budget meetings to discuss where we're going with the strategic plan and how the issues we identified and how we're going to achieve them with the budget.
Yes, I agree, and the management team has discussed it a little bit as far as the some of the items that have come in, and so we have we've updated some of the things, and we're ready to go. I believe that there's talk of potentially starting a committee of the whole. I think it's going to be discussed a little bit later, and so that's likely where it's going to go. If not, it's ready to go for the next council meeting.
Yeah, and I was gonna echo that same thing. We wanted to have that committee of the whole meeting so we can get together on strategic planning and where we're heading and costs and just make sure we're all on the same page there. So, yeah, we need to pick a date for that tonight. And I identified it in my, I was gonna bring that up during my report and we can pick a date then.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Councillor Dunn?
Question, Rod. The legal issues with tax collection, what's that about?
For the last several months, we've been working on a delinquent account with regards to linear assessment. And linear assessment is cable and telecom, that type of stuff, and it's a different process as far as collections. And so we've been attempting to collect some of those arrears. And it's, again, a different process than real property or like houses, that type of thing. It's a different process. So we're exercising all our options to attempt to collect some of those arrears that are in the neighborhood of about 40,000. So yeah.
So like it sounds like it's a business or whatever, so what's their side of the story? Like why aren't they paying or what's that about?
So what happens in even like wells and you hear it in the news, like pipelines, all that thing, like people go bankrupt, assets change and defunct. In this particular case, it's basically all the above. Assets that are no longer operational. However, there was assessments placed on those assets, and while they were still at least partially operational, and therefore we're on our assessment and tax roll. And but at this point, that company appears to be defunct, and so again, we're investigating all potential opportunities to recoup those funds.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, that was one of my questions too, so yeah, thank you, got that one done. And the other one that I had was just if there was any update from Canadian Fiber. I know we've signed the letter of intent. Have they indicated anything more about start dates, or have they got everything that they need to get going? Any word on the grant, anything like that?
Unfortunately, no words on the grants or anything like that, but Canadian Fiber is that they're ready to go. I know they've been as of I think a week and a half ago. I think pretty much the drawings are complete, and so just need a word from the feds and or province and ready to go. But they're still planning, at least on those areas that are not included within the UBF grant application, to proceed. And they don't foresee actually their biggest risk with actually installation is actually labor. That's the biggest risk they see out there as of about 2 weeks ago. It's extremely difficult to get labor. So if there's people out there looking for jobs that have some skills and laying fiber, etc., I'm sure Canadian Fiber would be interested in them. So that's what they've identified as their biggest potential risk.
Councillor Dunn?
So So around Canadian Fiber and around the whole issue of fiber optics, how much conversation have we had with our partners, like with Big Lakes, with our Indigenous communities, around who they're going with and around possible collaboration?
So as part of the RFP process, and one of the reasons we selected council selected Canadian Fiber was exactly for that reason. There's a lot of collaboration of several municipalities along the highway here that were part of that UBF grant application. So we don't go out and speak to each one of them, but definitely Canadian Fiber speaks to them, I'm sure, on occasion, because they're all part of that the same grant application as us. So we're all in it together. I think one of the reasons we felt one of the reasons why they were selected as our preferred provider was that they did have that regional approach and helping out the entire region. So so I think it's a good news story, and I think that was one of the reasons why we think the application should be successful.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you for that. And we had a motion to receive this report for information. All of those in favor? It is carried. I could see you really good that time, Judy. You were right on the ball. All right. So moving on then to item 14.2, request for donation to farm safety. Can I get a motion on that? Councillor Danaka?
I make a motion that council receive the request for donation from Farm Safety Center for information.
Okay, thank you. I believe it was you that had wanted to talk on that one, or you had identified it?
Yes, and I just wanted to make sure that there was a motion on the table of what we're doing with farm safety.
Okay.
That's the only reason why I wanted to discuss it.
Okay. Councillor Stenhouse?
Could you just, what was Councillor Danaka's motion, please?
The motion was to receive the request from Farm Safety for information.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other discussion on it? All of those in favor? It is carried. Then moving on to discussion on the High Prairie Edge Full Rodeo. And a motion on this one. I'll make a motion then that council, where's the, I should find it. Oh, we don't have an actual motion. I gotta make one.
Yes.
I was looking for it.
No.
I'll make a motion that we sponsor them for $1,500, which is what we did in the previous years. So discussion on that one, and I'm making that motion because we've done it in the past, and this is one of the biggest economic drivers, biggest events in the town for the summer. So it's certainly something that I think that we should support because it is a big event for our residents and for the residents of the region. It brings a lot of people into our community. Councillor Danaka?
I agree that we should sponsor that, but for some reason I thought we did the shoots. Because the logo was on the shoots all the time and they were open all the time. And then during the breaks the announcer will plug the sponsorship. Because I thought for some reason we did the shoots last year, or 2 years, their last time they had it.
Yeah, maybe Rita knows or remembers.
the last donation was to the Ag Society, not to the Elks Rodeo in 2019 for $500. 2018 was $500. 2017 was $750. I'm not sure what happened in 2016, but there was none. 2015 was $250, and 2014 was last time you gave to Elks Rodeo for $2,000.
Well, was that a grant, or was that, because we did two things now, and I think Councillor Danaka's onto something. Maybe it wasn't called a grant, but it was called sponsorship, where, you know, like in here, they talk about the sponsorship package, and we basically picked one of those sponsorships and went with that.
You would have had to write a check, and there was no checks issued to the High Prairie Elks Rodeo.
There were.
That doesn't make sense, but anyway.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, yeah, because I was
I can
sure
double check it, but that's what I looked at tonight,
Oh,
so.
yeah, and their letter says that we did, and I remember, I'm pretty sure doing that, so I'm not sure why. Councillor Stenhouse.
So, I can't support the motion of giving cash to them, because we do in-kind donation by blocking off the streets using town employees. We do traffic control, we do all kinds of stuff, we do, if they have a parade, we use our street cleaner to in-kind donations to them. Just to remind everyone of that.
Councillor Danaka?
I understand what you're saying, Councillor Stenhouse, but there are times when our in-kind is beneficial to the town, and this is definitely one event that's beneficial to the town. It brings people in to the rodeo, et cetera, and sometimes in-kind donations are a goodwill gesture, and yes, there's a monetary cost to that, but sometimes for the benefit of the town, you have to kind of overlook those.
Councillor Dunn?
And I agree with Councillor Danaka that this one weekend is our return on investment is probably over 100 times $1,500. The return on investment easily for this community is 100%. So I think we need to consider that, right? It's not 10 times, it's way more than that, and we need to look at that.
Well, and if I'm looking on here, at $1,500, there's a name mention on the scoreboard. So it is a little bit of advertising for the town when you've got people from out of town coming in. It is a time where we advertise the town a little bit, right? Like, we don't do much of advertising, but this is a time where we do advertise. It would get us in the program. So when somebody's coming from Beaver Lodge, they'll know what the town of High Prairie is all about.
Yeah. And sorry.
Go ahead.
Our businesses benefit greatly that one weekend, so thanks.
Councillor Stenhouse?
So you bring up advertising, the Elks do the advertising for us, because they announced that it is the High Prairie Elks Pro Rodeo. So Elks are already advertising for us. You gotta remember, look at our budget. We're trying to explain to people how we're trying to save money. I know this is a promoter of the town, but the citizens will go out and they will buy the tickets, they will go on the rides, they will buy from the food booth, they will support and spending money there. So they're actually, if we give a cash donation, they're actually donating twice, because they're donating from their tax base and they're donating from their own wallets again.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments on this? All right, we'll call it to a vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martins.
So again, Councillor Stenhouse, I completely hear where you're coming from, and I understand the difficulty with the cash donation. And we do have some stewardship, given our last delegate that was here was not forgotten. That was only 2 weeks ago. The reason I was late to raising my hand is because I didn't know how to word this, but I don't know, Mr. Mayor, would you be open to a friendly amendment? Because I heard what Councillor Tanaka said, and she talked about the shoot sponsorship, and I think that the logo on the shoot, eyes are there, it's about optics and visuals. So, hearing both what Councillor Stenhouse has said, what Councillor Dunn and my fellow Councillor Tanaka has said, would you be open to a friendly amendment of wording it differently, as opposed to giving them cash, sponsoring the shoot, or doing these shoot sponsorship at that level, which is noted. I think the return on investment is huge. I don't know if I can say this, but Councillor Martins will donate that to the town of High Prairie for this particular sponsorship. Is that even a possibility, or is that a conflict somehow? Because I just believe in it, and I think she's right about cash and explaining to our ratepayers. So can I make that donation to the town for this shoot sponsorship for the High Prairie Ulster Rodeo? Is that allowed? And I don't know if it is.
Wow, no, that's quite a generous offer on that one. I know the town doesn't normally turn down any donations.
From a councillor, is there conflict?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a conflict.
You're giving a donation as long as the donation isn't with strings attached, that's where the conflict comes in.
And it is with strings attached, right? Because it's for the shoot sponsorship specifically.
So that would be, because at $1,500 it would be a scoreboard sponsorship. At $1,750 it would be a shoot sponsorship.
I just think go big or go home. You know, I mean, the shoot's where it's at. I mean, this is the rodeo, guys. I mean,
Look at it, yeah.
it's also a pride thing, correct? I mean, it's the rodeo, it's High Prairie, we represent High Prairie. Is there a workaround, Rita, or no?
Well, I guess just so I understand, so basically you'd make the donation of $250 if council approved $1,500.
No, $1,750.
$1,750.
Right, that
Well,
way we're, you know, there's no issue with our ratepayer base to say we're being, you know, we're taking ratepayer money, you know, we're just.
Can we make an amendment to that?
Well, that's why I asked you if you were open to friendly amendment.
And leave it open to, if you're okay with this, to town council, anyone that feels or desires to throw in. Sorry, that anyone that has a desire to contribute can contribute, and that Councillor Martins will pick up the rest. How does that sound? Are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's an awesome offer. Of course I would do that amendment, yeah.
Any opposition from the floor?
Councillor Tanaka.
I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but the optics of it, in terms of, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Your heart's in a good space. You agree that this is beneficial, but in terms of coming from the town, coming from you, that's sort of where my optics are coming from. And I mean, we have the money in the budget. We have that $39,000 that's in the budget. If we take $1,750 out of that, I think we're good. And again, this is a premier event. And as Councillor Dunn said, I mean, our $1,750 donation, the the economic stimulus that comes to this town for people who maybe stay in a hotel, go to restaurants, maybe even shop because they've never been here, see our kitchen shops we have, far exceeds that. So, I mean, we have the money to do this. That's just what I'm saying. I mean, your offer is genuine, I understand that, but it's the optics of the town is donating it, but it's from you. Do you like that's sort of where I'm struggling.
Councillor, go ahead. Councillor.
And that, I think that's why Councillor Martin asked the question, is this, because I see it as an event that is valued in our community, is worthwhile. And I agree as council, but I hear the concern because we've said no to other things. And in doing this, and I would not be able to match what she's giving. That's why I said, like, if town council decides, if councillors decide that they do want to contribute, and she's willing to pick up the rest, I think it's not around creating the environment of look what it is. It's an environment of creating town spirit and keeping an event, keeping High Prairie as a forefront and an event in that rodeo, right?
And we have the money in our budget to do that, is what I'm saying. We have the money in our budget. We have set aside $39,000 for sponsorship and grants or whatever, and I mean, we're going to get inundated with requests, and not every one of them are going to be approved. We've set aside money specific for this, so it can be done. And like I said, I had thought we had done the shoots before, but I mean, we have the money to do this. And this is one event that I think as town council we need to throw our support behind, and we have the money in the budget to do it. $1,750 for our investment, and what the town gets back is definitely worth that.
All right, I see that there was discussions going on there. I was just wondering what you guys came up with, Brad.
Well, we think it's a lot cleaner to basically for council to make a decision on whether they're going to sponsor or not via the town. And if councillors want to make a donation to the town, they can do so. But it would be with no strings attached. Like, everybody maybe know this is where that money went, but it wouldn't be the rodeo care of Councillor Martin's, right? So it's council would approve whatever number, like 1,750, I guess, and I guess maybe under the understanding that there was going to be some donations for people around the table to offset that in another cost center over here.
Councillor Dunn?
So I guess that being said, and you can tell me this is not appropriate for our next agenda because we already approved this one. Can we talk about the possibility of, because this is something that's been rolling around my head, so when you brought up your thoughts, is can we talk about the possibility of creating either a trust fund or some fund that people can donate into for community needs, right? And start building, and I mean, that's something that I think we can talk about in terms of building for investment for town repairs, building for things like this, like and specifying that people can specify, here's what we'd like to see the money go to, and start looking at addressing some of our costs in that way as well.
that in other ways, typically for a cause, right, Gordon Buchanan, there's the school, that type of thing, but we could look into doing something, another project or various projects.
Yeah.
We could put something together and get direction. Maybe at a committee of the whole meeting.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
Strategy session.
So,
Okay. Councillor Yushishin.
I guess I'm just listening here and I guess wheels are kind of going on in my head as well here, but you know, I guess just in my support of the rodeo itself, yeah, I mean that it's huge. I mean, High Prairie Rodeo is heard around the province, so for our businesses and the community, surrounding community as well as a whole is huge. So as Councillor Danaka said, you know, there's money put aside for that, and I think that's extremely, that's a really big priority there. As far as the sponsor, and it's, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing, okay, so there's the chute, the scoreboard board, there's those things here, but what was catching my eye was these other sponsors, and I guess that's what Councillor Dunn was referring slightly to as well. You know, there's other ways and other means to maybe do that, and CAO as well is mentioning the same thing. So I guess I'm just putting my seconder in that as well, because yeah, I see that there might be other options for that and abilities to do that as well. But again, I think we're good with that. Like you're saying, the money's there. Big for the town, biggest thing probably, if not the biggest thing, one of the biggest things in town. So, but I really like that idea of those other options in there as well, and I think that's a great idea, and I think we should build on that as well.
And I'm going to sort of build a little bit on what was said before. Like I'm fine whether it's 1,500 or 1,750. I mean, either way, that's fine. But we do also, you know, the in-kind should be mentioned to them, that, you know what, we'll still be doing that kind of stuff, and making sure they know that this is an extra donation from the town, because we are going to cover. And I know at one time we did put a price tag on those in-kind pieces that we gave to them, right? Like the fact that we're cleaning the streets and we're taking the time to block off the roads and follow up that in kind. So we did put a price tag just so they know that, yeah, it is, it might be this much in cash, but it is also more in the in-kind stuff that we do there, and just so that we know what we're doing and contributing to them. So to kind of wrap this up and where we're going, I'm going to, the only thing that may be going to 1,750, because I don't, you know, it is go big or go home, and for $250 I see some nods around the table, so I'm going to do a friendly amendment that the town of High Prairie do a shoot sponsorship for $1,750. And then if people want to donate towards that shoot, we can, right? Then that would be fine for anybody that wants to donate to it. So with that, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. Okay. Councillor Martins.
Sorry, I couldn't get this in before you put that motion on the table. I just wanted to say, you know, the reason that came up in my head was because, just to respond to you, Councillor Danaka, was that I feel like this is, you know, when someone's going through a hard time, it's like, oh, we're having a party. You know, let's say someone is bereaving or grieving, I would want to bring cake and let's say have a cake party. So it was kind of that analogy. I felt like we're pulling, you mentioned the $39,000 in sponsorship, but as I recall, that was an interim, that wasn't a done deal. We were looking to pull that. We were looking to say that that's the only way in which we have control, and we were looking to strip away that amount. So that's where I was coming from. To me, it's kind of like being a Sunday school teacher or a school teacher, you put in a lot of supplies out of your own pocket, or hockey, you know, we take stuff that's needed, it's kind of, that was the intention. So just wanted to close off on that note and let you know what my thought was there.
Thank you for that. All right, so moving on then to our written and verbal reports. We'll start with Councillor Danak. Oh, sorry, you had something to...
I had something to add with that, because usually when we get the passes, we would donate them to the staff. Is that not what we've done in the past?
Yeah, or we actually, if I remember right, we donated them through the radio station.
Right.
For sure, yeah, to people that would call in and do something. Yeah.
Right. Other than, because I think at that, I think you're probably going to attend as the mayor, right? 'Cause, yeah.
Well, yeah, it's been a while, but.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that was just my comment was regarding the passes. Because
Yeah.
we've usually donated them to the staff or had, like you said, given them to the radio to give away or whatever. So my question is, what are we doing with the passes?
I think, yeah.
Judy has a question too, she's waving.
Oh, okay. Councillor Stenhouse?
Even though I'm still opposed to this, and I heard what Councillor Martin said, and that is correct, people are struggling. $1,750 is a lot of money for people. Even though I'm against it, I do not believe we should just make it as a straight donation, do not accept any passes, let the elks do what they want with those passes and whatever comes in that package.
Okay, you know what, I mean, this is a good question. We didn't really talk about it when we were on that agenda item. I think that's something we can maybe talk about some more at committee of the whole and just finalize where we want to put it.
Yep, that works.
Okay.
All right.
But yeah, good question on that, just to make sure we're clear. We've got lots of time to deal with it.
True.
All right, so Councillor Danaka's report.
No report.
Thank you. Councillor Dunn.
Do you want the dates? Sorry, don't have a calendar for me. I have attended sorry, thank you. I have attended the Community Educational Council meeting at the end of January, and they are moving ahead and their courses are looking good. There are some new things that are coming up, but because I don't have, I'll bring a written report next meeting with all of that information. I also attended the Children's Resource Council meeting, and there are things that we are dealing with, and I think I reported the last time that Santa's Little Helpers, they had an awesome Christmas, and met the needs of a lot of families. I will bring the numbers the next time as well. So yeah, that will be my report, as well as just some of the decisions that are being made around there that need some time to be fleshed out.
Okay, do you want to move your report? And then
I move to accept my report as presented.
All right. Any questions or comments for Councillor Dunn? No? Thank you. All in favor? Councillor Stenhouse, he moved his report for information. Are you in favor? Councillor Stenhouse, Councillor Dunn made his report and removed it for information. Are you in favor of that?
Unfortunately, I'm not, because I didn't hear a word he said, so.
Okay. So you're not in favor. Okay, so it's still carried. All right.
Hey.
Councillor Martins.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so I make a motion that council receive my verbal report for information. And I'll start with saying that in the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge that we are sitting on the homeland of the traditional lands of Treaty 8. Two short things in the last 2 weeks, one of which I've communicated to council. I was really excited by the Alberta Energy Regulators meeting. This was about Directive 088, and then my bubble was burst because that life cycle management did not include anything to do with the retail side, as Rob pointed out with the Esso site. So that was dead in the water, but it's good to see that pipelines and orphan wells will be somehow actioned in the future. So that was that on February 3rd. And on February 4th, Councillor Stenhouse and I myself attended the mandatory subdivision and development permit training, and I passed my exam. I don't know about you. And those were the two things in the last couple of weeks. Made the motion.
All right. Any questions or comments for Councillor Martins? No? Congratulations.
96%, guys, 96%.
Ooh, yeah. Excellent. Good job. All right. All in favor? It's carried. Over to mine. Well, we talked sort of I did attend the National Police Federation's report on their thoughts on the provincial police force, and it's no surprise that they don't feel that there should be a provincial one, and we should stick with the RCMP. They have some good rationales for doing it, and I don't know if everybody's seen, but their key thing is that this isn't going to a provincial one, in their opinion, isn't going to change the issues that are facing policing in the province, and it's likely going to cost more money. So that was their big, I think, the main points, and there was lots of other ones, and you guys can all read on that, but that was the key points out of it. We also had the emergency management meeting where we discussed the joint emergency management plan with the town of High Prairie, County of Big Lakes, and the town of Swan Hills, and that is all but being finalized. I know the report's been, or the action plan or the management plan's been done. It's been sent off for one more review to all of the municipalities, and I think once that's done, it'll basically be signed off with the only thing sort of left outstanding with the contractor that was hired to help guide the 3 municipalities through that was to do the mock disaster. So that was the issue that's been left, and because of COVID and everything else, we're probably looking at the spring to do that sometime in the spring.
Probably March.
Yeah, March,
No, that's-
April, yeah.
It's spring.
March 23rd.
Yeah, that's spring here. We got spring out there today, it feels like. Now, the other one is we need to discuss the committee of a whole, and like we talked about earlier, we need to get together, review our strategic management plan, make sure we know where we're going. It's been over 3 months, or around 3 months since we did our strategic plan, and we want to get together. So when's a good date for it? Do we want to do it on an evening, because it's not doing a whole plan, it's just some discussion to go over some of what we've done, have some of those talks, or do we want to do it on a Saturday sometime and have more time if we need it? I'm not sure how long it will take. I don't necessarily think too long, but I could be wrong. Councillor Martins.
Just for clarification, committee of the whole, I know the gentleman McIntosh talked about it. I get differing views. Is it public or private?
It's public. Yeah, we're trying to find out, and committee of the whole, when you look at it, the key difference is that you're not making, well, and again, you have to really define, in some communities, they actually make decisions at committee of the whole, but a lot of them, it's a discussion, information time, where you get background information, you share that, decide, or get more information, and then some of the final decisions are made at council. So, yeah.
So there is a formal agenda, right, because we have the tickets, we have there's at least a couple of items.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on when we should do this? I'm thinking we should do it sometime this month, and wanted to get everybody's ideas on what would be a good time. Councillor Danaka?
So, Rod, you said that you were presenting the budget on the next council meeting? Is that what you said? No?
No, sorry. I indicated that if we don't have this meeting, then I was going to bring the strategic plan forward to council at the next meeting. So there's a lot of the work's done and it's just ready for you guys to debate.
Okay.
So maybe just one thing. So we're just going to bring so committee of the whole. If we're going to go down that road, which sounds like we are, we should probably change our procedures bylaw, and that won't take much. It's just adding a paragraph or something like that within our procedures bylaw. So if we want to have this meeting prior to passing the procedures bylaw, we just call it a special council meeting and relax the rules, much like what we do in budget process, because the rules don't work in that. Or if we wanted to have a committee of the whole after the next council meeting, because the administration go back, do some drafts to that committee of the whole, then it's passed, then we can actually have a committee of the whole meeting after February 22nd. Does that make sense? In a way?
Yeah. Basically, you're saying that it doesn't officially recognize in our procedural bylaws that we can have a committee of the whole. So currently the way it stands, it's a meeting, it would be a special council meeting.
Yeah. Which could be the same, we just relax the rules.
Yeah. Councillor Dunn?
Did we vote on that? Didn't we do that back when Mr. McIntosh was here? Because I remember him asking, is this something that you wanted? And we all voted on it, I thought.
Yeah, in the strategic planning session, we did talk about meeting, every 3 months or something along those lines, right? That was sort of up to us, but yeah, I think we did say we wanted to get together and keep reviewing this and updating it and know where we were at with it.
We did motion to approve our policy again, or what?
No, I don't think we were thinking about our policy at that particular time, at our procedural bylaw.
Okay.
And in my mind, it's a public meeting, whether you call it a special meeting of council or a committee of the whole. But as Mr. McIntosh said, it's a different kind of meeting because here we're making decisions and you're in that focus mode, yes, no kind of thing, and strategic planning and committee of the whole, you're more in the brainstorming, the creative side of, okay, what can we do? We could do this, so it's that different kind of meeting that we wanted to he was saying, this was a good reason to separate the two. So that's why I think we can call it a special meeting and for this time around, and then make sure we get something in a change, or we can keep calling it a special meeting of council, just like we called our last strategic planning meeting. Yeah.
Judy has a question.
Councillor Stenhouse?
If I recall right, one of our top priorities on our strategic plan was to meet and greet with the county. I think we should start working on that and do a meet and greet with, new county, elected officials there, and we can then do a meeting of the whole after.
I think, you know, specifically, those are some things of how do we want to do it, when do we want to do it, or things that we can have those discussions of. And I know there has been some talk of those meetings, and I know that they've been put on hold because of COVID. So, you know, we haven't forgot about it. I know we've had those discussions, so. But I think we need the meeting of a whole. I don't want to wait for the county meeting at this point. That's my opinion. But. So, getting back to dates, what kind of date can we get together? Can we pick, I mean, next, I'll throw out an option that I was thinking of is next Tuesday, at sort of 6:30, sort of or even earlier, and we could have a meal, or, you know, bring in some pizza or something and go for 3-4 hours. I think that should be enough, but your thoughts on that?
It's, yeah, I'm gonna be pushing it, but yeah, if we do it on Tuesday, I'm gonna be in Edmonton, so I'm gonna be pushing to make it back, but I can work at that.
Gives you a reason to get going early. Yeah. Less time at Costco.
It's taken away from my granddaughter, so
Oh,
you know,
okay,
me a
yeah.
beer or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good. I'm open for other dates too. I just throwing that out. Councillor Danaka?
I know when it comes to discussion meetings, we tend to over discuss some things and it drags on and whatever. So I'm not necessarily sure if an evening meeting would be better than again a Saturday 10 o'clock meeting and stuff. I mean, if we're having a committee of the whole, are there other issues that we can discuss? Do we have bylaws that we need to bring forward that needs updating, etc., to make it not necessarily beneficial, but I mean, if we're having a committee of the whole for everybody, let's discuss stuff that needs to be discussed beyond the strategic plan, is what I'm saying.
Okay, sure. I was suggesting an evening so that people had their weekends, but I'm available on weekends if needed. So I don't know what others are thinking. That was my rationale. Councillor Dunn, and then
Thank you,
Councillor
Councillor
Stenhouse.
Danaka, because I do think on the agenda, like, there's stuff, as a new councillor, when you're making the agenda, I'd like to be able to put stuff out there. There's stuff that I need to know. What do I bring into council meetings from my other meetings and that kind of stuff? If we could talk about some of that. But I was thinking, either this Saturday or next Saturday works for me. So either the 12th or the 19th.
All right. Councillor Stenhouse, you had your hand up. Go ahead. Council.
To revisit the definition of meeting of whole, a informal meeting, so there'll be no passing of bylaws, none of that. It's just supposed to be a meeting without an agenda.
I don't know where you get your definition of a meeting of a whole, but usually they have agendas. But there's, and again, depending on what you put in your bylaws, you can, in some cases you can make motions, and in other ones you can't. So it would be something that we could actually discuss, whether or not, you know, those kinds of decisions. But at the end of the day, at this point, it would have to come back to council for decisions. But if we call it a special meeting of council, then we can make decisions at that meeting. So it's a little bit of terminology there, whether we call it a special meeting of council or a committee of the whole. I guess it really doesn't matter. It's just an extra meeting to talk on strategic planning and other things. And I'm going to say more in that creative realm, brainstorming ideas, than it is on decision making. So does a Saturday work on the 12th or the 19th? Does it work on an evening for you, Judy? The evenings work better than that, and the rest of it. So we got one that prefers evenings. We got a couple that are preferring Saturdays. What is the rest of thinking here?
Either works for me.
Either works for you. I can work either way too. And Councillor Martins?
So I'm also flexible and I'll make anything work, but I'm with Councillor Mack. I think that these things meander, and especially that's the whole purpose and premise. And I don't want to, get mired in semantics here, but I will say that I remember Gordon McIntosh saying the reason they're called committees of the whole is to get your brain to activate the other side, right? And it's a special meeting still sounds like a meeting, and it's the whole left brain, right brain thing. But I think that 6:30 to 10:30 is going to push it. So I would prefer a Saturday, any Saturday, Judy. But if we absolutely can't, we'll do anything. But I can do either.
Okay. Councillor?
I can do evenings. The only day that it's totally off is Thursday, as I have other priorities then.
All right. Well, this is always the issue when we try to get everybody together, right? Judy, is there a Saturday that works for you in February here?
Right now, it would have to be Saturday the 26th.
Okay. Does the 26th work for others?
It's only Saturday.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. It looks like we have a date. Saturday, the 26th of February, for a special meeting of council.
Time?
Rita?
What time?
10 a.m.
Oh, 10 or 9? What's the 10? Okay.
Saturday.
Okay, we'll start at 10 on the Saturday.
Councillor Dunn may need to weigh in.
Oh, sorry.
Not, Councillor Waco, I apologize.
Oh,
Yeah, well, we've got 6 of the 7, so.
Well, I just wondered if you wanted 100% participation or not. Just,
Yeah, well, we'll definitely let him know and see if he can make it, for sure.
I do know he did indicate to me his schedule has changed the last little bit, and he's available Tuesdays. I don't know. He just said Tuesdays he was available, but I don't know what Saturdays are like or any. I think he was thinking more on evenings, and Tuesdays was.
Yeah.
He just told me Tuesdays are okay.
Councillor Stenhouse?
So you also have to consider that we're pulling admin into this too. It's not just what suits us, because Rod's gonna have to work another Saturday, even though he works Saturdays already, but it'll be another Saturday, and I don't know who else is involved in this. So if we're gonna poll people, we should poll everyone who's gonna be involved in this meeting.
A good point. And before we set that, does that work for you, Rod, on the 26th?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I really think I was personally going to try from the administration side to keep it as limited as possible. From my manager's perspective, just so that they can get some rest. I wasn't really going to mandate things to them.
I don't know if we necessarily have to have them there for this meeting, but I mean, it would be nice too, but not totally necessary, I don't think.
Well, if we are going to be talking the strategy, there could be potentials for questions of them, but I also believe because it'll be very limited as far as maybe decision making, although it could occur. There'll be another shot to bring it forward to council for another approval where administration can go back and just refine things if they're not perfect.
Yeah.
So I am cognizant of the manager's time. Several of them are working weekends already, and just another day. I think a lot to ask of them. So.
Okay, well, we've got lots, I think we can make it optional for the managers, and we'll try a Saturday, see how it goes, and from there we'll see how long it lasts, and if we, and what kind of decisions that we have coming out of there. Good point, Judy, and Rita too, with James not here, but if we try and wait too long, we'll never get a decision on this. Okay, so we have a date. We'll try that, 10 o'clock on the 26th. So for the purposes, we need a motion on that, or can you just go ahead with it?
No, we should have a motion that it's going to be on a special meeting on the 26th.
Okay.
10 o'clock. That way, then at least we can.
Yeah, that's what
It's decided, so.
I'll make that motion. All in favor? It's carried. And then, the other issue that I wanted to bring up was the High Prairie Medical Clinic. They had emailed me that there's some of their concerns. I forwarded the email to everyone, and since then there's been another 1 or 2 emails going back and forth between the medical clinic and the province, whether it be AHS or Minister of Health. But the basic issue is they were hoping to have another doctor come into their clinic, the High Prairie Medical Clinic. They weren't able to get privileges, hospital privileges for that doctor, and now the doctor is reconsidering, so their High Prairie Medical Clinic is wondering why, and so that's basically what started it. The answer from Alberta Health Services is that High Prairie will have enough doctors. We just had the one that just started, and then there's supposed to be one starting at the beginning of April. One's going to be done, like doing his assessment by mid-March, should be here, and by the beginning of April. And the other one's done mid-April and should be here by early May, kind of thing. So we should have 2 more doctors coming, is what I understand. And so they're saying that, AHS is saying that now, because they have enough doctors, they don't want to give doctor privileges to this doctor that the High Prairie Medical Clinic has, because now it's too many doctors working the emergency room, and therefore the doctors that are there won't be happy because they're not making as much money as they normally would make if they get a lot of doctors. So we have been dealing with issues with for our High Prairie Medical Clinic now for 8 years. And there's been issues with them, and we've supported them. We've set up meetings with the ministers of health and with them and with us, and we've also, as you know, when the minister's been here, we've been lobbying for some of their concerns. In a nutshell, that's the issue. They're looking for whether our council will support them again in trying to bring this issue up. I said I would talk to council and see what we wanted to do about it, because this is just coming out again. but we need to move fairly quickly. It's very time sensitive, because if that doctor that they're looking at, he may already be gone, is my understanding, because if he didn't get it, doctors are a hot commodity. They can go into a lot of different places. They got the ability to move, and if they can't get hospital privileges here, they might go somewhere else. And we all know that the medical clinic might cease to exist if they can't get another doctor, with Dr. Laughlin being very close to retirement. So that's the issue in a nutshell. I'll throw it open, do we want to get involved with this issue again, see if we can put our weight behind them or not? Councillor Danaka?
Again, this is, like the mayor has said, this is an issue that we've been getting on and off with. It came up again towards the end of the last term. The office manager, Judy Johnson, came and spoke to us about the issues, and then at one point we had discussed writing a letter or whatever, and then we held off because they were in talks between AHS and Shandro at the time and the ministers. But I mean, this is a huge issue for this community. Dr. Laughlin's clinic serves 2,000 people. I mean, if they think they have enough doctors with whatever's coming, what are they going to do with these 2,000 people who don't have a doctor? Because Dr. Laughlin's retired. Like, I mean, people should have a choice of who they wish to see, whether it's the wellness clinic or whether it's Dr. Laughlin. And this is my personal opinion. The way they're treating Dr. Laughlin for everything that man has done for this community, the hospital that he's got for this community, the work that he's done tirelessly in this community for the citizens here, the way that they're treating that man is sickening and appalling by a government hierarchy, or AHS as an empire of itself. I mean, it's wrong in so many ways. And I think we need to, I mean, the best we can do is send a letter to the minister copying Verna Liu, Premier Kinney, our MLA, anybody who we can send a letter to. Let's do it, saying we need to have these issues resolved in a way that benefits our community and our citizens, and giving them that choice. And the sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we need to draft something. I don't know if I quickly read the email that you forwarded. I don't know if if you talked to Judy at all, is there like a template that they have that we can use and sign it and send it off?
I have talked with Judy, and no, she wasn't saying that there was a template. I asked her what, from her perspective, what would she like to see council do? She just said, give us any support you can, and that's where they were at. She didn't say do this. I don't think they have a set letter.
Okay.
So yeah, and this is just me talking. I think we need a letter just comes and goes, right? I think from my perspective, I'd rather see us try to set up another meeting where we can have some decision makers with AHS or Alberta Health here to make a decision, to meet with them, and have us as a bit of influence behind it, right? And we can be there to help influence, ask questions, and clarify. Because it seems like they're like this.
Well, it does seem they're like this, but I mean, the first start is a support letter. Then we can deal with trying to get, I mean, honestly, do you really think that getting a Skype meeting or whatever between the health minister, the MLA, and AHS is gonna happen in 2 weeks, a month. Like, it's probably gonna take them months to coordinate this thing. Like, we need to get on this now. We need to offer our support to that clinic, starting with a letter, and then let's try and get meetings with Jason Topping, Verna Lou, MLA involved, whoever's involved in this. We need to start fighting for that clinic and fighting for our community for them to have a choice.
I've got two hands up. I got Councillor Stenhouse first and then Councillor Dunn. So Councillor Stenhouse, go ahead.
I'm done with the letters. I think we need everybody at the table, face to face, mask to mask, plexiglass, I don't care how you want to do it. I want the representatives from AHS, the representatives from the medical clinic. We need to do a little bit of background checking and homework. How is Dr. DeVitt in McLennan running a private clinic and pulling it off? We need to gather some facts and information, and like I said, everybody in the same room. I don't care, mask, no mask, plexiglass, combat suit, whatever. Everybody in the same room. Enough of this emailing and or conference calls. I would like a recorded meeting and minutes taken so that we know exactly where we stand. And I think it's worth our investment. If we have to make a trip to Edmonton to meet with everyone, we're going to Edmonton or meeting wherever. But we need this emailing and sending letters is not working. And if it's time sensitive, let's get on it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dunn.
So I agree with Councillor Tanaka, but I think it's a combination letter of our support and a request to meet, and followed up by a phone call, and then stating, like, we have a timeline, and we need to understand what is happening between AHS and the High Prairie Clinic, and what, it's time for them to set aside their politics and work for the best interest of the citizens of our community. And if they can't do that, then we need to take a look at what some of the steps we can take to address that issue, because it is inappropriate. It's basically, if they're a business, it would be a monopoly, basically trying to take a hostile takeover of another business, and that's wrong. So they need to figure that out, and if they can't, then we need to take steps with our politicians and say, there's something wrong here, it needs to be fixed. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, Councillor Martins, then Councillor Yashishin.
Thank you. So no more playground antics, right? That's what this is, just merry-go-rounding. And it is about politics, not people. You're right, Councillor Dunn. The notes that I had made when I read your notes, Mayor, were the High Prairie Clinic. It's about accessibility. There was a Facebook post that Judy posted, and it got a lot of shares, likes. I mean, for High Prairie's engagement of a Facebook post to have 120 some odd things plus X amount of shares, that's a lot of engagement. So there's a lot of community support. And I believe that the patient count is more than 2,000 at the High Prairie Clinic. Next, I noted that I don't see there's no competition with giving doctor privileges at the health complex, zero competition there. I couldn't understand what the issues were, so I agree with all of you that all parties need to come to the table. I would be in support of everything that we can do to support the clinic and giving them hospital privileges at the complex.
Thank you. Councillor Yashishin.
Yeah, I guess it really comes down to, it's not a matter of talking, and we can talk back and forth, but we want answers. We want answers. We have questions, we want answers. Not go round and round. We need some answers to those questions, and we need to know now what's the problem and how do we go forward with this? And, you know, I just think of all the patients, you know, then there's a number of patients. So, you know, if they think it isn't an issue, well, there definitely will be an issue at that point in time.
So I can say that Alberta Health Services is on this issue. They're hearing about it quite a bit because out of the blue I ended up with a phone call from the Minister Coppings, and it was his issues manager saying, hey, I heard you wanted to have a meeting with us. And I said, well, I'm sure I'm going to, but I'm taking it to our council to have a discussion. And so they're on it, and they're hearing things already, but like I said, I didn't want to say, yes, we want a meeting without talking with council, see what council's thoughts are, but I totally agree we need to get on it. And I think if we can get the people in the room, it's better than, like you say, emails back and forth and supporting it. So they're already on it. That email today, so that was yesterday that I got that phone call, and then today Dr. Muir, who's the North Zone rep, sent out that email saying, you know what, we're on this, we want to talk to your community and that kind of stuff. So they want to deal with it. So I think it's perfect time to see if we can get them all in a room, because I know I've had discussions, and when you don't know all of the story, you can get from both sides. You don't know what to ask and what not to ask, so it's easy to get buffaloed in that way. So when you have everybody in a room and you can ask questions and help lead them through it, because we've done that a couple of times now, and it's helped. It's still an issue, but at least at the time it seemed to resolve it, but then it pops its head up again.
Yes.
So you think it's resolved, and then it's not quite resolved. So,
Yes.
Councillor Danaka?
Yes, there was one when Linda Cox was mayor. We had an open meeting. We had Dr. Laughlin here. We had the head of AHS.
Dr. Worry.
Dr. Worry, that's his name, and stuff. So we had that, but I mean, in reference to Councillor Martin's mention of the Facebook post, it was shared on numerous websites, and I'm sure all of the calls that they are getting and the emails were from people who said, I've called, emailed, done, calling, etc. But it really, I'm going to be honest, it pisses me off when you have these government officials who say, yeah, we're on it. What the fuck does that mean? We have an issue in this town, and you're on it. What does that mean? You're listening to people, you're taking a meeting, you're thinking of meeting with people. How are you going to resolve this issue that you're aware of and that you're on? And we need it resolved soon. Soon. Yeah. So if Copping's issue guy and the head of the North Zone are reaching out to you saying, hey, we want to damn rights, we want to meet. And we want answers. We don't want your little walk around bullshit that you're going to, oh, well, we're working with them and we're trying. No, we want the definite answers. Why are you sabotaging the doctors that come to that clinic? Why? Why do you not want the competition? Why? What is your issue with saying that it's going to take hospital privileges in emergency? What kind of crap shit is that? I'm sorry to the people out there that I'm losing my temper. I don't do that often, but this is an issue that is just driving me batty. And I want some resolution, and I want some honest answers from somebody on how they're going to resolve it. Because again, the way that they are treating Dr. Laughlin, who has been in this community for 20, 30, 48 years, whatever it is, and everything that that man has done for this community through AHS and working with the hospital and everything, the way that they're treating that clinic and that man is abhorrent and needs to be stopped and fixed now, not 3 months from now.
Thank you, Councillor Martins.
So there are just sounds like there's resounding support. There's something I was going to say. Oh my goodness.
Did I take away your thunder?
No, there was something specific. Oh man, never mind. Yeah, she's got
Councillor Stenhouse?
Well, wondering if we could show a bit of supporters that 6 months of free rent. That offer stands for the medical clinic only.
I missed what she said.
What she mentioned was, we offer 6 months free rent for doctors. And was your question, can you do that for somebody at the High Prairie Medical Clinic? Is that what you're saying? Only. Oh, I don't know if we've ever had that issue with Dr. Laughlin's clinic, because they're, so. Yeah, I don't know, we're getting off topic, but I think what I've heard on all of this, Councillor Martins, your thought came back, I can tell.
Yes, sorry, I'll be very
Yeah.
quick. I think that we're in contracts regarding her AHS thing. I don't think you can pull it and only offer it to the private clinic, but that's yours to deal with. My thought was the mention of that community engagement session from AHS, that alarmed me, because what they're gonna do is, it's a PR effort to get in front, speak and engage to our community without us even doing our foundational work. So they're trying to be preemptive. Did you guys see that? I mean, they want to do a community engagement, and they'll put their agenda forward without us even coming to the table. So maybe you can address that. Or okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'm hearing from council is that we try to set up a meeting with the two parties, with the people that can make decisions, and see if we can get a decision on this. And especially we're supporting Dr. Laughlin's clinic. Let's see if we can get them to come around to that idea or come from that point. Okay, I will follow up on that.
We'll bring Councillor Janaka to that meeting.
Oh, I'll be there. Trust me, I will be there.
Yeah. Okay, so with that, I move my report for information. And I'll take any other questions. Councillor Dunn?
Oh, well, I moved.
Oh, you're ready, okay.
I'm ready to vote.
I know, we've had lots, so.
So just for clarity, like, is there a motion or?
That was my question. I was gonna say,
Oh.
yeah, okay.
Is it,
Should we make a motion? I know I'm gonna follow up on it, but we can make a motion to set up a meeting. So I'll withdraw my motion for information, and I'll make the motion that, council, because this is more of a political thing, so it's probably me, that council sets up a meeting with AHS and the High Prairie Medical Clinic to discuss these issues together.
What about the Minister of Health?
And, okay, and the Minister of Health,
And our MLA.
yeah, and our MLA.
Now, in your motion, are you going to include writing a letter to those people?
I think I would see if we can get I'm thinking we can get this meeting in the next week.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be a big issue. If
All right.
this is gonna look like it'll drag on, then we could send a letter.
Okay.
But I think we can get this going quicker than a letter would be of much value.
Okay. All right.
All in favor? All right, it's unanimous. And I move my report for information. All in favor? All right. On to Councillor Stenhouse.
She's shaking her head.
No report. Okay, Councillor Yashishin.
Thank you. I attended the emergency joint session on January 27th. It was a first meeting for me, so it was a learning meeting for me. So that was really good, and I picked up a lot on that and caught up there. And then the only other thing I had was, I attended the Police Federation's presentation online, as well, and, yeah, that I really got out of that was, that a provincial police force is gonna cost more in the end. But also too, maybe not just that, I guess one of the things I did pick up on also was the fact that, would the amount of services be the same, or would some of the services be lacking? Like, was the provincial police, if it was set up, were they going to be able to handle what the RCMP, I guess, says now? So there was actually, I guess, 2 points. And that was the 2 meetings that I had since last council.
I'll just add to that, because I could have mentioned it in mine too, but that report, it's worth sitting in and listening, because the National Police Federation has several meetings coming up, and you can get in on they have some virtual, they have some that face to face, but it is worth getting to hear their perspective on it, and then I know the province is planning on getting out and sharing their perspective on it, so we can get both sides and make the best decision with when we have all of the factors there. Okay.
And if there's no questions, I'll move the council receive my verbal report for information.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments, or? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that is carried. So with that, we will take a break, and then we have a closed session to go into afterwards. Okay, thanks.
When are you coming back?